Hello, guys, and welcome to part two of Giving the Voiceless a Voice. The, my other two wonderful co-authors, and again, our fearless leader, Lonnie, is joining me so that we can finish explaining our books. And well, one of our members lives all the way across the world, and that's why we had to do it at this time, honestly. But it's a privilege and a blessing to actually have him here. So I'm going to bring everybody up, especially because our wonderful Charles has 20 minutes with us because he is in Hong Kong. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up Charles, Lonnie, and Alicia to the stage. Welcome.
Hi.
Yay.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning.
So, welcome to Life Talks with Crystal Phoenix. I mean, this one we're doing another author showcase to complete the collection, basically. We had some amazing feedback and everything from Saturday, so I'm gonna open the stage up to our gentleman, Mr. Charles. What was your reason for wanting to be in Speechless? What was your motivation? And tell us a little bit about your chapter.
Well, my chapter is about my experience with my father-in-law and my father passing away through medical assistance in dying, which is also referred to as MAID. And they passed away about 6 to 7 months from each other in September 2019, and then again in April 2020 at the start of the pandemic. And after the first experience of my father-in-law passing away, I was quite struck by that. It was quite an amazing emotional experience. And one of the key messages in that portion of the chapter is that my wife's family really kind of taught me to love in a new and different way that I hadn't experienced before. And then when my father became quite ill and also chose MAID, that really motivated me to write about it. And I have done actually talks in Hong Kong about that experience. And after the first experience, when my father-in-law Blake passed away, I actually started writing about it, but I hit a huge writer's block. And then after the second experience with my father, the writer's block disappeared. And I thought, okay, the universe is telling me that there's a before and after story here. And so when the opportunity came along to contribute to Speechless, what was really on my heart was telling the story of these two experiences.
Awesome. And that's a really good motivation. I'm going to hand the mic over to Lonnie because I know she's itching to talk anyway. And she is our publisher, editor. She shared a story too. We all did. So, Lonnie, the stage is yours, my dear.
Thanks, Crystal. It's interesting the timing that we have in life. Charles and I have been talking about doing something together for over a year. And when my friend Michelle suddenly passed away, excuse me, the platform opened up, the concept of the book changed. And when I spoke to him about it, he said, "Boy, do I have a story for you." And boy, did he have a story for us. And it is so inspiring and motivating and moving that I'm honored to have that, to have, be able to share these epic journeys that everyone takes. And the book, Giving the Voiceless a Voice, it was incredible how many different ways we all showed up and brought the stories that we did. And that goes with, for Alicia too. Out of the blue, I called her and I was just like, I have a feeling. And she's like, I have a story. And so, right? That's how it happens. And it was interesting to see the evolution of Alicia's story, in how did she want to present something, and then she went into solution mode where she decided, and I'll let her tell her story, to make a difference moving forward. And ultimately, all the stories are about what impact we can have, what legacy can we leave. And that's what Michelle did. That was my best friend. And she didn't just leave it with me. There are hundreds of people that related to her and her nonstop giggle and bubbly energy and her her giddiness for life.
Yeah, I wrote with her in book 3.
Right, that's right. You knew Michelle too. And right? And she was also the one who would call me and say, "I understand you're doing a workshop this weekend, Lonnie. What time should I show up?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, I have to pop in and tell them how wonderful it's going to be. I have to let them know. I just want to meet them. What time?" So she never let go. Like she was always that person who encouraged the best out of everyone. And even the section that I started to do called the Rattled Tattler, which had to do with some things that are going on a global scale. And I felt inclined to report on those. And she's like, "Are you doing the Rattled Tattler this month? I hope you are." Because we used to talk about things most people don't know about or know to talk about. And so it's hard when we lose someone so important to us, isn't it? No matter who we are. Whether it's literal or figurative, but we can revive them. We can give them a voice again. And that's what this book has done. And it is such a good book. Cue the book. Hello. This is such a good book. It's not just because I'm in it. It's not about me. My chapter is way secondary to you guys. You guys have done such a fantastic job of sharing from the heart and moving people in ways that maybe even you didn't expect. So that's my 2 cents.
Just on a logistical point there, Lonnie, a friend of mine in Singapore ordered that book and had a hard copy in his hands in 2 days.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty fast.
Yes. That's the front door of Amazon. It works.
And on that note, we are going to pass the mic on to the beautiful Alicia. It is your turn. You are in the hot seat to talk about your chapter and inspiration.
Hi, everyone. Alicia Tolver, aspiring speaker. I'm on a journey as I go through my transformation to share my story to help others get through theirs. So I think with my mother, Lonnie knows the backstory because I went to her a couple of times. My mother wants to write a book. She has a story to tell. Maybe I can be a ghostwriter. I'm not really sure what the direction should be. So then Speechless came up and she thought of me. And she reached out and I was like, yes. I didn't even really think about it. I just said yes without even thinking it through. And then I realized that, yes, my mother does have the story to tell. And right now she is kind of voiceless or speechless and she's not able to get across the platforms to share that. So I can be that voice for her. But while writing the story, I realized there was more to it. I also had moments where I was speechless and I didn't really advocate and stand up for myself. And I'd worked in the diversity, inclusion, and belonging space for a while. And I realized that there are a lot of people being muted unintentionally or without recognizing that they are. And I think that kind of brought out another thing in there where it was like, how do I advocate for without speaking for? So I couldn't really speak for my mom as her, but from my perspective, living with her for the many years, decades that I've lived and had her in my life, and how can I get that on paper to share that story and just let her know that she is being heard, but also that I'm being heard, because for the longest time, I didn't think I was. So this was a perfect opportunity for me to merge both worlds and also, tie into the becoming that I hope to be moving forward.
Did your mom read the chapter yet?
I read it to her while I was writing it. And of course, she started boo-hooing like I was, because I think a few things came out during that moment, right? And she was like, "Really? You're writing a story about me?" The whole Jamaican accent came out. And And she was like, "You're serious?" Yeah. But it was a good coming together moment for us. We got to cry about it, bond about it, and kind of reminisce. And it was also a learning experience for both of us.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow. Yeah, you really have kicked around how you're going to write a story about her. The other part about your chapter in this book, Speechless, has to do with what you learned and what you decided would be different moving forward. How did that land with her?
I think it goes back to that was I a good mother question. I mean, I've asked it of myself a few times. And even when I was telling her how I was going to express or share her story, it wasn't to say you weren't a good mother. You did what you could and you were what I needed, right? That's how I got to where I am. But also kind of explain to her that there are some certain things that we all went through that we shouldn't repeat. If we can find a ways to push through them or overcome them, we should. And I think that message was clear for her because even when she was helping with the little ones when they were, born, she's kind of overbearing, and I probably get a little bit of that from her. But I felt like she was pushing a little bit too much. But when I actually told her that that was a weakness for me to kind of stand up for myself, and also that it was an opportunity for her to maybe let go a little bit, I think it really sunk in. Like, yes, you're your own, you're a grown up now. You have to raise your children according to how you and your partner think you should. And I have no rights there. So yeah, it's kind of like finally accepting that she had to let go of that role, being a mother to my children, like she was to me, and just recognizing that we're going to do it differently, and that's okay.
That's beautifully said. I'm glad that it landed well, because we never know. And Charles, you had a unique position, as did I, when my father was in hospice and on his way out. He really didn't want to hear it. He didn't. I said, "You've had a good life." He's like, "Let's not talk about it. Let's not." It was completely different from the experience you've had, but we are always their children, and so they don't always take it well. But it sounds to me like you had a different experience.
Yeah, it was quite a good experience. My father was a very humble individual, and when his last few 5-10 minutes when we're in tears telling him how great a dad he was, etc., etc., his response was, "It was your mother's fault." But yeah, it was. I mean, I think this is the beauty of Made, as controversial as it is. I think that it gives you the opportunity to really think through and plan out approaching that moment. Whereas a lot of people, when they're, well, for sure, if you have a sudden illness, a heart attack or something like that, there's really no chance to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And in person, it's all after the fact. But even when you have someone with a terminal illness, when they go into hospice, you have confusion, you have people who are heavily fatigued from the illness that they're battling. And this gives you a little bit of extra time. In my case, with my father, a lot of extra time. And in my dad's case, we had a couple of days and a few weeks to really think through, okay, how are we going to approach this and how are we going to say goodbye? And that was the beauty of it. What you don't know is that outside the door, grief is waiting for you. So very, very quickly, you always hold on to that great memory of the dignity of choosing Made, but you will eventually be confronted with the grief of losing a loved one or a friend.
Absolutely. I think that's why doing our stories is so important, because we are able to share what they left behind, and the further away we get from it, the perhaps more deep or perhaps not the story is, depending on our memory, our recall, and what we decided to make out of it. But if they inspired you, that never goes away. That would take a lot of courage to do what they did, I think. Yeah. So, and then Crystal, you did a story. Hello. Let's talk about that for a real quick second here.
Well, you hadn't really shared your story. You three kind of were the ones that were ready. We were waiting on. I've shared my story plenty of times, but honestly, my sister was an amazingly loud and she was just her, period. And she'd give you the shirt off her back if you were family and someone she loved. But she was definitely the black sheep and not ashamed of it. And I basically just told her story about being that authentic person and loud and just being her.
And it changes people. It really does. You know, as far as my story goes, it's a dedication to Michelle Lax, artist, best friend, amazing woman, chicken lover. I mean, not liver, lover. If you read the story, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, she, as well as you guys, I mean, we all have someone in our lives that has left some sort of indelible stamp, or whether it's good or bad, or in between, doesn't matter. They do. People have an influence on us, and to be able to share that influence means that the ripples that they created, the oceans of memories for us, become starter waves for others through an inspiring story, a tale well told. And that's what Speechless, giving the hashtag Voiceless a voice, really accomplished. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share your stories, as well as Michelle coming to me in that moment when I was crying, and literally I heard her, "Don't cry, Lonnie. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm right here. It was time to go." It's just so matter of fact. And my mother was a medium, not a large, but so I've been exposed to the possibility that these things could happen, and it was the day that she passed on that happened. But then the grieving does come in, and it took a while. I had a book to produce. I didn't have time to cry. I didn't have time to process what just happened, and it is a process. Even when we're giving our own selves a voice, in the books, the other books that have been done, it's a process to share that, but it makes all the difference to the person who needed to hear it. So very grateful for the opportunity to do that with you guys. What a
I think the other thing, Lonnie, is that life is temporary, and we're talking a lot about that this evening. But ideas are permanent, and the beauty of taking the story and putting it into a book is that you then have a permanent record of an experience that people had, and those stories could live on forever.
The movie The Book of Eli really does say it all.
Yes.
How the written word can be generations from now. It's still gonna be there. Our stories will affect, generations to come, just like the stories from generations before us affect us. So the written word really is eternal, whether it's going away because of the internet or not. So that's, to me, it's a legacy to us, writing these stories and writing them for the ones that we loved and lost is just as big, even though they don't get to see it, at least their story's still out there. So.
And I also want to encourage people who are listening right now, if they have a story, to contact Lonnie and really make that story happen. And don't wait too long. I have another story, Lonnie, of the triplets being born, because they were born 14 weeks premature. And someday I'll put that to pen. But I really want to encourage aspiring writers. And one of those people is Joanne Merrick. She just left a comment here. She's listening from San Jose, California. And she has a book that's actually about to come out. So keep going, Joanne. Make it happen.
Yes. Good on you, girl. And thanks for that, Charles.
Actually, I know you have to leave soon, and one thing I did do the other day as well was, if you have any upcoming projects or anything that you want us to know about, to keep our eye out for, things like that, since I know you have to leave within the next couple minutes, why don't you share that with us real quick?
Well, one of the things that being in human resources, thanks, Crystal, for this question. One of the things that I've seen being in human resources is the impact of the pandemic. I know people roll their eyes when they say, oh, no, not the pandemic again. But it really has had a massive impact on well-being. And at first it was mental well-being. Now a lot of the medical profession are saying there's an impact on physical well-being. And in my own case, going through the very strict conditions that we had in Hong Kong, when we finally emerged out of the pandemic, I really reflected on, okay, how do I know if I'm well? And I had let my body slip to a degree during the pandemic because I wasn't as physically active. So my next story, which is going to be featured in one of Lonnie's upcoming books, is my path to well-being and what I encountered and a couple of funny stories that I experienced along the way. And hopefully that will inspire people to really, as I say, hold on to your youth and fight off old age.
I love that. There's something that happens after 55. Red alert, just letting you know.
Yes.
Right? You change, something happens. Okay. So enjoy your youth. I'm so happy to have you work with you again, Charles, in Rattled Awake Volume 12, which is coming out on December 19th. And yeah, we're doing the workshop on the 14th and 15th. So, hey, what are y'all doing out there for that weekend? Might want to join us in the final book of the year in the international best-selling series, Rattled Awake, which is premised on over the last 5 years. What shook you? How are you better, not bitter, as a result? Have you started a business or changed your headspace? Have you started, just making things different because of what happened to you? And thanks for that, Crystal. Yeah, it's writing training and a collaboration with amazing people that you'll want to know for the rest of your life. It really is. Thanks for that. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Mhm.
I would say we're good. I would.
All right. Well, Alicia, do you have anything that you're working on or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm trying to actually speak more, get my voice out there. I have some stories to share, and I want to share them with whoever wants to listen. So actually, I have my first audio room at 12 o'clock Eastern on Wednesday.
Which
So
is funny
I'm excited
because
about that. The
they're
topic is
doing away
fear.
with them.
Good for you, Alicia. Good for
trying
you.
to get the last one in before LinkedIn
Really?
chops them off.
Yeah, I was
but
gonna
fear,
say because
fear
LinkedIn's
perspective,
getting rid of them.
bringing thoughts
But,
in
no.
about fear. And I hope everyone brings, their perspective and shares their thoughts so we can all learn how to overcome our fears. Which for me was speaking.
I'm so proud of you. So proud. Alicia was in a Rattled Awake book last year, and she is quite the story. She is Sergeant Alicia Tolver.
Thanks, Lonnie.
You are, and she gave it all up to be a mom, in a late in life mom, and she's a soft-spoken warrior. That one. Wait, that one.
But on that note, I'm going to have to excuse myself.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And Crystal, thanks so much for hosting us. And I look forward to staying in touch. And I encourage everyone, if you have a story in your heart, please reach out to Lonnie and make it real, make those ideas permanent. So all the best. Have a wonderful evening, wonderful day, wherever you are on the planet. This is Charles, over and out in Hong Kong. Bye.
Bye, Charles.
Bye.
Love him.
So, Indigo Twin, if you go to my channel, all of my socials are there, and then I can connect you with everybody that you've seen. Where can you reach Lonnie? Okay, let me see if I can copy and paste it.
You can go to Book Lonnie, LONNEE.com. I appreciate you asking. Thank you. There you go. Thanks.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have been sharing the links underneath when individuals have been speaking. So
thank you so much for all you're doing. I see that you're dragging. We can call this a wrap, girl. put this
All
puppy
right.
in the can
I
and
do
call it a night.
appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I am tired.
You're
Setting up
beyond tired, Crystal. Beyond
I'm
tired.
setting up a new
Thank you,
computer.
Crystal. Appreciate you
Thank
pushing
you
through
to
for
the
us.
crew, the YouTube crew. Thank you so much for what you do to help support
Yeah.
all that we're doing. I so appreciate you guys and gals. Thank you.
Thank
Big
you.
time.
Thank you to all of you for tuning in. Appreciate it.
Yes,
Take
thank
care.
you so much. Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Night.